What's up everyone, happy Friday. When you look at the stock market, it looks like we're having an okay day. Mostly green, a little bit of red, a lot of flat, somewhat of a boring day here. Bitcoin and crypto tells a completely different story. Everything is red, it looks like we are just selling off. We do have some bad news from Blackrock and I'm going to talk about that. I also want to talk about what to expect for September. We're entering the end of the month, maybe people are selling off because typically September is a bad month for crypto, and while that may be true, I think what's more important is seeing how September does on a halving year. So let's find out. We're also going to talk about some economic data that released, as well as something else that put some recent selling pressure on Bitcoin, but shouldn't be much of a problem moving forwards. And we received data from the Fed's preferred inflation indicator. PCE came in mostly as expected. Core PCE came in at 0.2% for the month of July and 2.6% looking year over year. And this 12-month figure, or the 2.6%, was softer than the 2.7% expected. This is a good sign for cuts, although we didn't really need this, but this further cements the basically 100% guaranteed cut that's coming. Now I'll leave this down below for you. You do have to sign up to be able to read it, but you can do like a free membership. You don't have to pay anything. Make sure you don't waste money on dumb little memberships for stuff like this. But this article goes over what a September typically looks like for Bitcoin on a halving year. I think that's the most important thing you have to pay attention to. Over the past 11 years, September has more often than not been a bad month. 72.73% of the time, September closes in the red. Even in the most bullish of years, 2013, 2017, 2021, perhaps 2025. But it tells a slightly different story during halving years. Instead of a 70-something% fail rate, over 70% chance of seeing red, we have more like a 66% chance of seeing green. 2 out of 3 halving cycles, September was a good month, a green month. In the 2012 halving, we saw 2.6% up from the beginning to the end of the month. In 2016, we saw almost a 5% green month. But in 2020, we saw a 7.5% bad month. But looking at the halving years, more often than not, September is green. Perhaps this halving could drastically change the odds. If it's green, then 3 out of 4 times, September is good during a halving. If it's red, then we basically have a 50-50 chance moving forwards, looking at past data and including this upcoming September, obviously. We also have some news from IBIT. Blackrock's IBIT posted a $13 million outflow. Is this a crisis signal? Yes, guys, since Blackrock or IBIT's inception, since the day they went live in January, IBIT has posted 2 outflows. Out of the multitude of days, IBIT has posted 2 outflows. Is that a reason to panic? Is that a reason to worry? Think about it. Before Thursday's $13.5 million outflow, the last time IBIT saw withdrawals was May 1st. 37 million was pulled out. One thing I'd say is concerning about this is Farside data disclosed this was the worst joint outflow day on record for the Bitcoin ETFs, 563 million. That's quite a big sell-off. But what's more important to realize, this is not the trend, this is the exception. This has happened 2 times over this entire year so far. IBIT's total inflows stand at a remarkable $20.9 billion over its lifetime, I should say. The ETF has seen consistent inflows almost daily, cementing itself as a dominant Bitcoin investment product. And we have something else that has been providing some selling pressure, but it may be over now. Celsius's bankruptcy plan administrator pays out over $2.5 billion. Now this was paid out so far to 2/3 of eligible customers, but 93% by value. The vast majority has been sent out already. And as quoted, given the small amounts at issue, for many of these creditors, they may not be incentivized to take the steps needed to successfully claim a distribution. The majority of the selling pressure from Celsius, I believe, is behind us. Same with Mt. Gox, just to remind you guys. Now, I do want to quickly bring up Bitcoin. As Bitcoin takes out or fails at these certain levels, it is going to gravitate towards the next level. For instance, if we can't maintain this, we're going to break and head towards this one. If we can't hold this, we're going to break and head towards this, roughly 56,000. If we can't hold 56, we're probably heading to 54. One thing that's interesting, if we do sell off a little bit more, I want to show you guys, we're going to be looking at an inverse head and shoulders. Maybe if we can sell off a little closer to the shoulder, they might be a little bit off, but there's a very good likelihood of looking at an inverse head and shoulders, and the market will definitely react to it. Bitcoin has previously failed its 50 and 200 MA. On the next test, I want to see a successful break and hold. Last time we tried to break, and it took 2 days before we broke back down, and there was literally like no support. It just sold off hard. Now, one thing I want to bring up that I don't think I've mentioned to you guys is on the weekly, the 50 MA on the weekly, Bitcoin does tend, when it goes on a huge rally, to come back and revisit it test it, use it as a support. Let me show you back in 2020. Look back in 2020, we saw a huge run. We absolutely went parabolic, rallied hard. We went literally to the 50 MA, basically found that area as support and rallied back up. Tested it again here, but kept rallying. Once we failed it, we saw that we couldn't hold it. We failed on the retest and the break, and then it was basically over. So look at this. This 50 MA will be very important to watch this cycle. It looks like we just bounced off of it. Perhaps it's up from here if history is an indicator. And let me show you a 2016 halving cycle just to show the consistency in this. It ran up huge, ran down, tested that 50 MA. It ran up again. It looks like it just kept going down, but actually after testing here, it did run up another roughly 100% almost, from about 5,000 or so to about 12,000, or about a double, before coming back down, testing the 50 MA again, bouncing on it, failing it, testing it as a resistance, reacted to not being able to break out, and we sold off. I do think, and look at this, a break caused a huge rally. The 50 MA on the weekly is big for Bitcoin. The market definitely reacts to the 50 MA on the weekly. I also want to go over one last article. I think this is pretty interesting. Bitcoin hash price slump echoes March 2020 Bitcoin price launch zone. And this hash price comparison hints that Bitcoin is near a bottom. Historically, these lower hash price periods have coincided with Bitcoin price bottoms, suggesting that the current low hash price might indicate that Bitcoin's price is near a bottom as well. And the last similar period occurred in 2020. And Bitcoin miners, as of recently, their reserves have actually increased. They have stopped capitulating. Many are starting to hodl. Mining difficulty has increased. It's back to an all-time high, which to me is a good sign. It means that everyone wants to mine. If there wasn't competition, if the difficulty was low, that would be a very bad sign, an indicator that miners are leaving. But the higher the difficulty, the more miners are entering the space. This is a good sign. It's definitely a bit of a rough day for Bitcoin, for crypto. Perhaps it's because we're entering September soon, and the market mistakenly thinks that September is a bad month during halving years. 2 out of 3 of the times it is not. Is the market reacting to IBIT posting its second outflow since inception? Perhaps. I think if that's the case, the market needs to realize the bigger picture, the inflows. And as another side note, GBTC's selling has actually been slowing down as well. I believe yesterday they posted no flows, which is a good sign. I do think by end of year we will see at least a few inflows from GBTC, whereas with IBIT it's basically been all inflows or no flows, except for the 2 outflow days that we saw. Remember, that is the exception, not the norm. We will continue to see IBIT's assets under management grow and grow, and their holders will own more and more of the Bitcoin supply. Remember, these are the days you want to take advantage of while people are fearful, while there's nothing but red. If you see the big picture, if you believe in Bitcoin, if you believe this Bitcoin bull run is not over, you want to be loading up on your top miners, your top alts. The market can flip from fear to euphoria very, very quickly. And at least in my case, I'm getting to the very, very end phases of being a buyer. I'm not going to be buying a bunch of Bitcoin and crypto miners in 2025 when they're rallying, when they've already done huge multiples. And it's definitely not the same buying Bitcoin at like 50, 60,000 versus buying it back during the fear at, 20,000 or under. The potential multiples buying Bitcoin here is a lot less than the potential multiples buying Bitcoin back during the bear market. That said, do I think Bitcoin can 2x from here? I do think we'll see that at the least. Probably not much more though, but who knows. Remember to always do your own research, guys. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. I could always be wrong, I could always be right. I just figured I'd give you guys that disclaimer, since lately everyone loves pointing out that no one knows what they're talking about. So let me remind you guys that I don't know what I'm talking about. This is my first day. Thanks as always for watching, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next time.